this is cjhoyle. Today is Thursday, March the 24th, 2022, and right now I'm riding my bike in the southbound direction along Yonge Street. And in this video, I'm going to be giving a narrated tour of the Yonge Street Bikeway, which runs from Davisville Avenue all the way down to Bloor Street. This is an area of roadway that I made a video showing last summer, but I'm back here again to show it again for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because this project includes two different configurations. A configuration which I showed back in the summer, which includes street side patios for the various different restaurants along this corridor. But during the colder months of the year, those patios are not in place, and instead the bike lane goes straight through, and they've used some of that space that had been dedicated to the patios for on-street parking for people who are frequenting those businesses. So we're just at Davisville Avenue now, and the street is also called Chaplin Crescent if you were to turn to the right. But from here, this is where the bikeway begins. So from here all the way down to Bloor, I should be in a nice, safe, protected bikeway. So the second reason why I decided to come back to make a video of this section of Yonge Street is because these bike lanes were installed as part of a complete street pilot, which is installed here on a evaluationary period of time where they've installed them, but the city is continuing to collect data about them. And now the item comes back to City Hall for decisions to be made about what to do about it permanently. And the time has now come for the beginning of those decisions to start. It's got a red light here at Merton Street, and up ahead we'll be riding underneath of the K. Gardner Beltline Trail, which you can see above that black bridge with the horses on it. So the installation of these bike lanes was completed back in September approximately. It was kind of a slow rollout, unfortunately. It would have been great to have them in the ground, back in, April or May when people started riding their bikes. Well, that didn't exactly happen. It took longer than expected. And it's now been a year since those were first approved, so that's when they had sort of earmarked that they would make the decision. And so that decision is actually going to be made next Tuesday. It will be coming first to committee, and then eventually it will get to the full city council at Toronto. And so earlier this week, the city published their report, which shows the findings of the study that they've been conducting since the installation began. So in this video, I'm going to be sort of summarizing some of the content within that report, and also I'm going to be telling you how you can help to ensure the future of these protected bike lanes here on Yonge Street. So while it had been anticipated that the decision that might be coming now would be that they would either keep the bike lanes, make them permanent, or remove them and turn the street back to the way that it was, the recommendation that the staff made within the report is actually to extend the time frame of the pilot a little bit longer so that more people will get the opportunity to come and try them and start to sort of make it more part of their daily routine, because it's been in for, like I said, from September until now, which is March, which is not an awful lot of time, and it's also a time of the year when around the city a lot less people are bike riding. I'm sure there was at least a month during that time span when these bike lanes were very filled up with snow and not very usable for the majority of the population. So that is the recommendation that the staff have been made, and then now it's the decision of the councillors on the committee and on the council to decide whether to go with that decision. I think it's a good idea, personally. The study shows that the project has been quite successful. In certain parts of this corridor, they've seen the number of people riding bikes tripled, an increase of 200%, which I think is pretty impressive. It also shows that motor vehicle times, while they have on average sort of increased, it's not really a substantial amount. I think it's, don't quote me on this, but I think it's around maybe a maximum of about 30 seconds that someone's drive might take since this complete street was installed. We're just now at St. Clair Avenue. Another component of this study was a survey that was done by people who use the street. So they call it an intercept survey. And they basically had people out on the street with clipboards stopping people who were making use of Yonge Street, and that included people driving and walking and using transit, as well as people riding bikes. And the overwhelming majority of people that they surveyed were in favor of this project, and they sort of deemed it as a success. And that aligns with, other surveys that have been done citywide, asking people, what they think of protected bikeways. Generally, in the city of Toronto, it is if you poll a large amount of people, you will get results that will show that people are in favor. But every project like this, there are always people who are opposed. There just tends to be, you can't please everybody, and there are always people that sort of like the status quo. They don't like change, and when you try and change something, they kick and scream and yell. And from what I understand, that certainly is the case on this project. There is a fairly dedicated group of people who are extremely opposed to this project. They want to rip everything out and turn things back into the way that it was back in 2020 and beyond, before we had any sort of a complete street here. So that's kind of where you come in as far as being able to help make this project continue. So essentially, with this item going to be voted on at committee and at council, what we need at this stage is for people to be sending submissions to the elected officials. So I've got some details in the description of this video below with the details about how to do it. It shouldn't take you more than 2 or 3 minutes to write a quick email. I've included a template of things that you could include in there. And feel free to copy and paste and just obviously sign it with your own name and address down there at the bottom. And of course, the main complaint of the opposition to these bike lanes is how it causes gridlock, and there's all kinds of traffic all the time. If you were to believe what they would say, they would make you think that there was bumper-to-bumper traffic on this road pretty well 24/7. Well, I'm riding this right now at about 5:30 in the afternoon, which I think you generally would consider rush hour, and I have not noticed a single backup along here. And this is on a Thursday, so it's a weekday, so really this is rush hour. I don't think you would see cars moving this smoothly if you were to go out to the major highways right now, like the 401 or the Don Valley Parkway. But that's why it's important to believe the data that was collected as opposed to people's anecdotal accounts. I'm sure there are times when you would come here and you would see bumper-to-bumper traffic, but the same was true before the complete street was installed and there was 2 lanes of traffic in either direction. When you're dealing with a major street that runs through the middle of Toronto that has all these shops and restaurants and other businesses along here, it's a main street. It's not supposed to be a highway. So while this project has been shown to be widely popular amongst the public, the threat of it being removed is a real one. In fact, there was another active TO project which did have its bike lanes removed back in 2020. So while this item for Yonge Street comes back to City Council, it's important that everything that can be done is done to help ensure its future success. So this is the first video that I've filmed so far this year riding my recumbent bike. Earlier videos that I've been riding were filmed using my green machine, which is my winter bike, that I don't mind getting road salt onto it, but we've had a little bit of warmer weather lately. Another major benefit of this complete street project, I have to keep saying it's a complete street because it's more than just a bikeway. What it did, especially during the summer months when it was warmer, was it gave people places that they could sit outside at restaurants. So it gave restaurants more capacity, and it also gave people places that they could sit during times when indoor dining was not allowed due to the pandemic. And as part of this project, the city has consulted lots of different people, and included within that are the local businesses, and I believe the majority of businesses were very much in favor of doing this to the street because it really makes it into, much more of a main street. Unfortunately, from time to time you do get people illegally parking in the bike lane, but that same problem exists on virtually every bikeway in the city. So we're just about at Davenport Road now, or if we were to turn to the left, it's called Church Street. My only real complaint about this active TO project is that it doesn't go far enough. It kind of at the north end, you saw that we started at Davisville, and it just sort of ends kind of abruptly there. There's not really any other connections for cycling that begin there, unfortunately. Where at the south end, it at least ends at Bloor Street, which has a bike lane in both the eastbound and the westbound direction. So for the future success of this pilot, I really hope that the city can extend it further north and at least get it to Eglinton Avenue, which in the future will have a bikeway on it. Anyway, here we've just about arrived at Bloor. I hope you enjoyed joining me on this narrated ride today. Don't forget to check out the details in the description below to help ensure the future of the Yonge Street Bikeway, and thanks for watching.